Hello gainers, I'm Ralphie and welcome to my channel called Fitter Philosophy, in which I discuss stoic, practical, experience-based philosophical stuff based on my experience and learning from other people's experience and then sharing it with you. It's a simple formula, so here we go with another episode. Ambient toxicity. What does that suggest to you? Well, it suggests generalised, because it's ambient, and toxic means it's harmful, and it's in our environment, and we've got to be aware of it. Well, absolutely we do. Ambient toxicity is far greater now than it used to be just a few years ago. Because just a few years ago, and I'm talking about a few decades, which isn't that long, people would clean their house with basic soaps, carbolic soap, some basic detergents, nothing fancy, nothing coloured, nothing scented, nothing flavoured, and that was it. There would occasionally be some bleach used, but it was used occasionally and sparingly. And in that environment, people would wash their clothes using simple detergent soap flakes, soap, coarse powders. And again, it would be used sparingly because people washed less. They did their laundry less often because it wasn't a consumer-driven habit to be washing clothes constantly, virtually every day. There was no such thing as fabric conditioners. There was no such thing as biological, non-biological, environmental, eco-sensitive, etc., etc. Generally, stuff was simple, and therefore it was ecologically sensitive quite by default. And in the old days, and I'm just talking a few decades ago, if people wanted some smells in their house, they might spray a little bit of perfume that they've got as a Christmas or a New Year birthday present or whatever, and they might light a candle, a scented candle, and that would be it. There was no such thing as aerosol derived air fresheners being used constantly to give background odours in houses. And in the furniture itself, people did not have the same volume of preservatives, flame retardants, and other, the array of industrial chemicals that are used in modern fabrics and furniture and curtains and carpets and paints. Another good example. And not that long ago, paints were a lot simpler than they are now. And the result is that people lived in an environment with a lot less constant presence of chemicals. So when we look at the modern lifestyle, this is where we have to be aware that the risks of the modern lifestyle, including cancers, other physical ailments, diabetes, and the whole array of modern diseases. They call them modern for a reason. They tend to be very present in the so-called developed world, where you have this ambient presence of chemicals, also known as ambient toxicity, because these chemicals are not there for the benefit of our health. They're there for the benefit of selling us commodities, selling us lifestyles, selling us convenience, selling us consumerism. And each and in themselves, they might not particularly do us much harm. For example, in fly sprays, in fabric conditioners, they tend to be fairly innocent. However, when you take all these chemicals that we use and we buy and we subscribe to in the modern world, and you put them all together over time, you create an increasing toxic environment of ambient toxicity. A toxicity which is getting more toxic. And therefore, it's in our interests to actually examine all the chemicals that we use in our lives and the chemicals that we're exposed to in our lives, sometimes by choice and other times we don't even think about it because we don't even realise it's there, such as in foodstuffs, preservatives, flavour enhancers, stuff that looks innocent and, you know, safe to consume, like monosodium glutamate. But we know it's linked to high blood pressure. We know that in any volume of consumption over time, particularly as we get older and our immune systems, our general fitness and ability and capacity to cope with these toxins starts to diminish. We've got to examine it and start to think old-fashioned. Shall we cut out the fabric conditioners? Shall we cut down the complexity of the dishwashing chemicals we use, the clothes washing chemicals we use? Shall we cut out the air fresheners completely? Why not, when you can just open the window and get some fresh air in? Shall we change our furniture and our fabrics, and shall we redecorate the house less often and therefore reduce our exposure to chemicals there? Shall we be more careful about just literally cooking our own food from raw ingredients, which is a dramatic way of cutting down the ambient toxicity from foodstuffs? It all adds up. In itself, individually, it doesn't seem that bad, but put it all together over time, then we're creating a toxic soup which will affect our health much more than if it wasn't there in the first place, and ultimately we're responsible and we have control of it. And if we don't exercise the control ourselves, it'll be controlled for us by people, by institutions, by companies, by organisations that don't necessarily have our best interests at heart. Remember, gainers, nobody cares more about us than we care about ourselves, generally speaking. And that's the way it should be. We need to be alert, we need to be aware, and we need to never stop educating ourselves as to how to live a safe, sensible, practical life, which is just going to enhance the quality of the life that we lead. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you soon, gainers. Bye-bye.